Welcome again to everyone who has just joined us, and thank you for joining 5 Challenges of Scaling Localization Workflows for the 21st Century. I'd like to start by introducing today's speakers. From CantAnAutoScale, Tony O'Dowd has spent the last 25 years developing technologies that have shaped the localization industry. He has worked for some of the largest software companies in the world, including Lotus, Symantec, Corel, and he also founded Alchemy Software Development, which has become the market leader in visual localization technology. He is now founder and chief architect of CantAnMT.com, a leading cloud-based machine translation platform. And from bmmt, Maxim has a combination of academic and business skills, with a PhD in statistical machine translation from the Polytechnic University of Catalonia. Maxim is the author of more than 30 scientific publications, and prior to joining bmmt, he worked at TUIS in Amsterdam as an R&D manager and postdoctoral researcher at the University of Amsterdam. Now he is technical lead at bmmt. During today's webinar, Tony and Maxime will deliver an overview of the MT technology currently available in the market, the challenges of operating MT systems at scale and speed, and their opinions on the future trajectory of MT. Both presenters will finish off with a 5-point checklist for successful MT deployment based on both MT providers and LSP's points of view. So let's get started. I'll hand you over to Tony now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise, and it's a pleasure and a privilege today, guys, to be able to present our presentation to you today. And I hope you enjoy what we're going to go through. And if you have any questions, please feel to enter them into the questions tab on the right-hand side of the screen. So my name's Tony O'Dowd, and I'm the founder and chief architect over here at CantAnMT. And today I'm going to talk about, give you a little bit of a background as to what CantAnMT is, and I'm going to talk about the challenges that we find and see and discover with our clients as they scale their MT deployments for their within their localization process. Now, it's good for me to talk about my technology and our technology because we know it so well, but we've also brought one of our partners from bmmt into this presentation today so they can explain firsthand how they've used some of this technology to accelerate the deployment of machine translation, to scale it for their clients and deliver real business advantage in using MT. At the end of today's presentation, then, we'll have a 10-minute question and answers where we'll be more than happy to answer any of the questions that you may have, and maybe you want to seek some clarification on some of the slides that we've presented here today. So first of all, what is CantAnMT? Well, CantAnMT is a statistical machine translation system. It's cloud-based, which means you need, as clients of ours, no special hardware or software to use MT. All you need is a logon, a password. You can configure our application using a simple web browser, and within a matter of hours or days you can start building machine translation systems for yourself and your clients. Because it's on the cloud, it's highly scalable, it's insanely inexpensive to operate, and incredibly fast to deploy. And our vision from a development point of view is to put machine translation, the customization of machine translation, the improvement of machine translation, and the deployment of machine translation into your hands. So we want to empower you to control your own destiny and to incorporate machine translation right into the heart of your organization, right into the heart of your localization workflows. Now, we're a relatively new company. We're operational about 15 months. However, we've covered an enormous amount of ground, and it's probably true to say that today we're probably one of the largest, if not the largest, MT provider in the industry today. There's approximately 6,700 odd Kantan engines being used daily and weekly on the Kantan site, and in the last 12 months 47 billion words have been uploaded by our members, our community, as part of training data that they have used in conjunction with our stock engines and our baseline engines to build and deploy and implement a machine translation strategy for their localization workflow. And in fact, in June of this year, we celebrated our 500 millionth word that was translated using the Kantan platform. And this morning, the number of words translated in the last 12 months stood at 579 million words. So we're very happy that we have a platform that's making a real difference in the industry, but more importantly, our members, our community, are getting tremendous value in using machine translation within their workflow. So who is this Kantan community? Well, we've got quite a broad selection of clients, and there's just a small selection of the clients that we work with today. And the vast majority of these clients, believe it or not, had not used machine translation in the last 12 months. In fact, most of our clients today are recent users of MT, and they've had to really understand, go from zero to full use of MT in a relatively short period of time. And that's something that kind of unifies a lot of our clients. The industry, as we all know, operates at an insanely fast tempo and an insanely fast velocity. And one of the guiding principles of developing the Kantan platform is to enable our clients to deploy MT at a very high velocity and at a very high level of quality at a very good economic price within their workflow today. So we deal with all ranges of clients, from small, medium-sized LSPs up to the big guys, from small companies all the way up to very, very large independent software vendors as well. And we span all sorts of content type, from technical content, medical content, automotive content, in fact, all the way down to small handheld devices such as mobile phones. Our product has been used in all those different platforms and content types today. So what are the challenges, the 5 challenges that we see our clients have on a day-to-day basis in terms of grabbing machine translation, customizing machine translation, and get going to see if they can get the benefits and a quick return on their investment? Well, the first challenge that they have is going beyond building just a simple MT, a baseline system. So one of the first things that we do with our clients is we build them a baseline system, and that's insanely quick to do because we aggregate all their training data, be it from translation memory sources, monolingual sources, stock engine or terminology, and we use our cloud to make it really, really quick to build the first engine. And that's a baseline engine. It's not going to be your production engine. It validates your training data. But the real challenge is, how do you rapidly go beyond that baseline engine and really customize and improve the engine, and in other words, get it to a higher level of quality, and what we refer to it as get it production ready? Well, we've built a technology. It's a highly visual technology called Build Analytics, and this gives you an environment where you can actually see how well your engine is being trained, how good your training data is, how many words the engine is missing in terms of its vocabulary, how many gaps exist in the engine. It actually scores your engine in terms of quality, and it does this all automatically and in a highly visual environment, so that your engineers, who predominantly may not have a background in MT, can start learning this new trade, this new technology, this new way very, very quickly and become productive very, very fast. So challenge 1 is basically addressing the issue of speed. How can you develop fast or rapidly develop many MT systems or engines rapidly and get them into production ready status for your clients? Here's an example of what Build Analytics does. It actually graphs your F-measure score for an engine. That's a measurement of the precision of your engine, the recall of target words. But most MT providers will give you an F-measure score. Well, we go way beyond that. We actually show you the distribution of your F-measure score, so you can determine where your engine is doing particularly well, more importantly, where it's doing particularly poorly, and by identifying those areas, automatically we can start improving the engine very, very rapidly. And make no mistake, guys, it's all about speed. We've got to do this quickly. We cannot take months to build these engines. Our clients want these engines in production in a matter of weeks. In some cases, it's in a matter of days. Now, since the majority of our members, our community, are relatively new to machine translation technology, we developed a brand new technology called CantAnAutoScale, which examines your training data and actually gives the engineer helpful advice on how to improve the training data or how to improve the actual engine by adding more data, monolingual data, terminology, and so on and so forth. So at all times, our system is cognizant of the fact that we need to coach our members on how to build sophisticated, high-quality, highly available MT systems for their environments. And because they build these engines not for their own projects, mostly for their client projects, we give them detailed analysis within a web browser on what's doing well in terms of translation and what's not doing so well. And by identifying those weaker areas, we can actually rapidly improve the engine itself. So Build Analytics, it's a revolutionary technology. It goes way beyond the baseline engine and helps our clients develop production-ready engines fast. And that's a key ingredient. It's the first challenge that clients have. How can I build engines rapidly and get them into production and get my ROI going very, very quickly? And more importantly, they want to create value for their clients as quickly as possible by introducing this technology to their workflow. The second challenge that we've got then is that a modern localization workflow today is actually a integration of several technologies, and perhaps the two big technologies that are going to give you the best productivity enhancement is the seamless integration of machine translation and translation memory into one seamless workflow. And the great thing about translation memory is that it gives you predictable and accurate 100% matches and high fuzzy matches. Let's say it's above 85%. And anything below that, you can use MT to actually make sure that 100% of your content is translated at all times. And by doing that, it means that your translators and your editors and your post-editors can actually work rapidly in finishing off that translation. So the real challenge for our clients is how can they harness the accuracy of translation memory with the flexibility that machine translation brings. So we actually address that issue by building a technology called Kantan Total Recall. And Kantan Total Recall is actually a translation memory built into the core of the Kantan platform. So the Kantan platform in itself is a fusion of both translation memory and machine translation technology. And the real benefit for our clients is that it's seamless. They don't have to run two different processes. They just run a consistently single process, and they get the benefits of both systems, the power of two. They get the benefit of the power of two. They get the consistency and the accuracy and the velocity of translation memory with the actual flexibility of machine translation. And that really supercharges their localization workflow and gets it to be more agile. And if you can get it to be more agile, you can actually get it to run faster at less cost and creating more value for your clients. So that's the challenge number two. How do they combine these two technologies? The cornerstone of the industry has been translation memory. The new technology of the industry is machine translation. How do we work those two systems together? The third challenge that we've got is how do we make data intelligence or add data intelligence to the machine translation decoding process. Now, the decoding process is the activity where we're translating from a source language to a target language. But with machine translation systems, there's an awful lot of stuff that doesn't need to be machine translated, particularly with content that you see in catalog sites or on web-based e-stores. So there's elements, data elements such as measurements, units, size information, things like temperature measurements and so on. And these don't need to be machine translated. They need to be converted using code. So one of the challenges that our clients have to really achieve the next level of quality and sophistication and data fidelity in machine translation systems, we need to be able to inject code into our own code into the actual translation process, or what we refer to as the decoding process. And there's a subsystem built into the heart of the Kantan platform called NER, N-E-R, and that stands for Named Entity Recognition, where you can actually inject your own code into the decoding process yourself. So for instance, if you detect there's a temperature value in Celsius and you have to translate that into a Fahrenheit conversion, you don't rely on the MT system to do that. You develop code and inject that code into the actual decoding process. And by doing that, you make the machine translation process more accurate, you make it more data aware, and you've actually added a lot more intelligence into the actual decoding process. And that's a kind of a standard feature which really distinguishes our engines to other engines in the market. We can actually add code, programmatic code, into the actual decoding process. And it has to be said, most of our clients today would be using aspects of the NER system, the Named Entity Recognition System today, to really maximize the flexibility of a machine translation engine. Very unique technology, but essential to address that challenge of data intelligence or data awareness. The fourth challenge then is one for project managers. One of the biggest issues with machine translation systems that all of our clients have faced is that generally the traditional machine translation engines translated everything with no sense of whether a translation was good, bad, or ugly. There was just no sense. Everything was just MT'd, and it was up to the post editor to really determine what level of quality existed, if it was good, bad, or ugly. Today, using the Kantan environment and using our CantAnAutoScale technology, we can predict the quality that the engine will produce. So if you guys are using fuzzy match values today to predict the quality of pre-translated projects, so the higher the fuzzy match, the higher the quality, and the less post-editing effort is required to complete that translation. Well, we've developed a similar technology called CantAnAutoScale for machine translation systems. And because the Kantan platform seamlessly fuses translation memory and machine translation technology into one platform, our CantAnAutoScale makes it very easy for project managers to determine the scope of a project, to determine how long it will take to complete a post-edit project, more importantly, how much it's going to cost. And if you know those two factors, you can actually calculate what your billables are and your chargeables are. And obviously the difference between those two is your profit. So today we can be very deterministic in how we manage post-editing projects. Again, something that's has traditionally been a big challenge to the industry. With CantAnAutoScale, think fuzzy match, and you got it in one for MT systems. CantAnAutoScale gives you that level of predictability in your schedules. So this is what a CantAnAutoScale report looks like. We tell you how much words have come from a translation memory lookup. That's what total recall is. It's an advanced TM. We then tell you how many words have been manufactured through your statistical machine translation system. And then at a segment level, we give you the quality estimation scores for each segment in your project. We also break that down in a spreadsheet format, so you can download this into a spreadsheet, or if you want, you can take the stats into your own workflow and put it into your cost management system, and we give you the word counts, the actual placeholder and tag counts, and so on. So this is the type of information that you're very used to using today because it comes from project analysis reports such as the Trados project analysis reports or maybe the MemoQ project analysis reports. And one of the really cool features of this technology as well is that if you're using your favorite CAT tools such as MemoQ and Trados, we embed these automated scores, these quality estimation scores, in those native file formats so you can see these scores as your translators use their favorite CAT tool as well. Again, it's a seamless integration of this new technology into existing workflows. So you don't need to reinvent your workflow. You can integrate MT very rapidly into that. So CantAnAutoScale helps project managers make the right decision, the right business decisions quickly. And it's consistent with the way they work today using translation memory. The fifth and final challenge then is once you've built your system rapidly, once you can predict your costs, how can you deploy that engine rapidly so that dozens of translators can use the same engine at the same time at a very, very high speed, but at a very, very low cost? So when you're actually building an engine, you've got to be cognizant of the fact that you've got to use the cloud to scale access to that engine and to allow rapid access to translations with that engine. And we have built a technology called CantAnAutoScale to basically give you a deployment service that scales your engines very, very rapidly. So if we have your engine deployed on a single server and you get lots and lots of requests from one of your clients or from a team of translators, and we see that that server is starting to struggle with a minimum return time for each translation, we automatically start adding in more servers to speed up that engine and to maintain the quality and the velocity of service to all of your translators. Another example of using CantAnAutoScale would be that you may want to use on-demand translation or machine translation for website translation. Well, now you can tell CantAnAutoScale to deploy the engine over 10, 20, 30 servers, and that means you'll have enormous capacity on a daily basis for handling machine translation engines. In fact, if you deployed a Kantan engine over, say, 10 servers, you would approximately have the capacity to translate at about 50 million words a day, which is huge capacity. And if you go beyond that, we just add automatically servers, and it's a completely automatic process. So with actually the CantAnAutoScale, you can actually get web scale access to your engines very, very quickly. So the very first thing you do is you select the engine that you want to deploy. The second thing you do is you specify the minimum number of engines that you want to use, or servers, and the maximum number of servers that you require. And then we would build a deployment for that automatically. And because of our clients that are some of the largest software companies in the world, they want their engines available 24/7, 365 days of the year. So you're allowed to deploy those engines over multiple data centers. So even if a data center crashes or the pipe into a data center goes down, you can have your engines migrate automatically to different data centers. So this gives you consistent, robust, reliable, low latency, high speed machine translation services throughout your organization. A critical requirement for web scale on-demand machine translation systems. And you can see we've automated this process now so that everybody can actually access this type of technology today within their workflow. So CantAnAutoScale allows you to deploy machine translation at scale, and it's really, really simple. It's inherently built into the platform that is CantAnMT.com. So the 5 challenges. The first one is building engines quickly. So we've developed technology to help our clients, our community, do that. The second one was to integrate machine translation with translation memory systems, and we've harnessed the power of both systems in a seamless environment by building this total recall technology. We now have the ability to take engines and make them data aware. In other words, add intelligence to the decoding process, inject code which improves the fidelity and the quality of the machine translation, goes way beyond traditional MT systems. We now have the ability to predict the quality of engines, something we could never do before. Highly important for project managers for cost management, project scoping, and resource management. I don't know how people were able to do this honestly in the past without this predictive technology. And then when you've got all that working, you need to be able to deploy your system for your clients such that it never fails. It always actually scales as the request and demands increase. So we've built autoscale technology at CantAnAutoScale that helps you deploy your on-demand MT systems or services, and that will actually automatically scale with the requirements of your clients. So they're the 5 challenges that we've worked with our clients to address over the last 18 months, and we've had some great success with our clients in using these technologies, and it's been fantastic to have some really high quality clients that are giving us tremendously strong feedback on what works in our technology and what needs to be improved in our technology. And one of those clients is a company called bmmt. It's a company that's been set up specifically to deliver machine translation services to their clients using including other machine translation systems, one of which is the CantAnMT platform. And I'm delighted now to hand over this presentation to Maxim, who is going to share with us some of his experiences in how he has used our platform to help his clients and some of the challenges that he has faced in building systems and deploying systems for his clients throughout Europe. So thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to hand over now to Maxim, who will deliver his presentation now. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, and thank you guys for inviting me today. Can you see my screen, by the way? Hello?
Yes, we can see your screen.
So I think you can see my screen.
Okay.
Yeah, great, great. So thank you for inviting me today, and I will be happy to share our experience with machine translation and maybe cover some aspects of machine translation deployment from an LSP perspective. So now a couple of words about my company. bmmt is an innovative and creative language service provider. We have a strong focus on machine translation technology. It doesn't mean that we do only machine translation. We also provide our clients with classical translation services as well, post-editing services, etc. bmmt is a relatively new company. It was founded in 2013, and we are based in Berlin, Munich, and Stuttgart in Germany. And we see our goal as to enhance innovations and new technologies. So it means that we are always happy to talk to technology providers and try new solutions for machine translation, translation quality evaluation, etc. We mostly focus on the biggest industries in Germany, which are automotive and trucks, machine engineering, telecommunication, construction, and lately we started to get into the IT domain as well. So the types of documents that we translate, the content that we translate, they are typically technical documentation, texts, workshop texts, training material, product catalogs, and well, basically we do take whatever has highly repetitive content and what we think is suitable for machine translation. Since we are based in Germany, we mostly translate from German into other languages. So our primary source language is German, and I would say that maybe we have more experience than anyone else in Europe or maybe in the world working with German as a source language. And of course we provide integration with big amount of most popular TMS systems like SDL Trados, Acros, Transit, and whatever. And yeah, of course you are welcome to visit our website. So a bit about our take on machine translation. I copied here a definition of machine translation from Wikipedia, which says that machine translation is a subfield of computational linguistics that investigates the use of software to translate texts or speech from one language into another. However, we take machine translation as a tool that helps first to increase the productivity of translation process, and second, which makes possible to translate texts which would never be translated otherwise. And yeah, just to mention that machine translation as a technology is a relatively new one again, and it was developed, the most popular toolkits were developed by academics and for academia. And for industry it's quite a challenge, because some aspects which are very important for industry are not simply covered or not investigated enough in academia. And that's why it's a little bit tricky sometimes to implement machine translation, because you need to have some in-house experience to account for some of these non-standard features, let's say. As you probably know, machine translation is popular on the web. There are a lot of distance services, not a lot, but some distance services, which have become available in the last maybe 5-7 years. And machine translation became popular mostly also with the support of US military department and multilingual societies like European Union, Canada, Switzerland, etc. So nowadays we are living in an interesting period, because some big companies have already adopted machine translation and trying to get further to try new technologies related to machine translation or to optimize their processes. Others are only entering the world of machine translation, so it's really the era of early adopters, as I would say. And nowadays machine translation has started to escalate to new markets, and that's what we are trying to help our customers with. So And as you probably know, there are more than one machine translation technology. There are rule-based systems, example-based systems, hybrid systems as well, but we focus on statistical machine translation mostly, and on hybrid MT as well. Why statistics? Why we think that statistics is maybe the best approach to address a machine translation problem? First of all, it's a data-driven technique, and it means that you don't need to spend a lot of time to develop a new machine translation solution for a new language. You don't need to have like a staff of linguists or language specialists to develop it. Basically, you just need to have a decent amount of translated segments, translatable material that you can just then feed to the system, and the system will learn automatically how to translate unseen segments. And again, you can prototype a new system quickly. With CantAnMT, I think that we had the quickest experience. Maybe it can take less than a day to prototype a new system, and yeah, at a very low cost. So, in fact, you just need to have a server just with software, and your data should be prepared just to start working with machine translation, nothing else. And it also have what we think is an advantage of statistical machine translation is a high flexibility of matching heuristics. So it means that there is mechanisms that allows to fix errors which consistently appear in the machine translation output, and that guarantees that you will never see them again after that. So the current status of machine translation. Yeah, machine translation is a buzzword in the localization industry nowadays, and everybody has heard about machine translation. Many are positive about machine translation. You know that there are a lot of events and conferences where people speak about machine translation and exchange their opinions, but few are ready to invest in a complex and not clear solution. It's basically one of the most disadvantages of nowadays machine translation offering, as we think. And what the market expects, as we believe, is a tangible and transparent machine translation service at a fair price. So basically, market needs a product, and we think that maybe in this sense, CantAnMT offering is the clearest one. So basically, you know what you're buying, what you're paying for. And again, what the market is lacking is sustained everyday experience. Machine translation is a new technology, and of course it takes time to accumulate some best practices and some experience working with this technology. And as a machine translation buyer, you will face an empty challenge that or you can choose between two possible scenarios. First, you can implement machine translation in-house, or you can outsource machine translation development completely or partially. And physically, machine translation system can be installed either on the cloud or on your own server or your customer server, or it can be installed also on a rented server. So in this sense, there's quite a lot of flexibility. And the current focus of machine translation as a technology is around open source, mostly I would say, and commercial machine translation systems as well, which are based on statistical, sometimes rule-based, and nowadays I would say that there is a trend that it's also a trend towards hybrid machine translation system. I can hear some background noise, I think. Okay. So MT in industry, regarding the cost structure in the language service provider framework, of course you should be aware that the cost structure of translation becomes different when MT is integrated into the translation pipeline. In fact, in classical approach, there are three components of the cost, which is data preparation, then translation and quality assurance. When MT is integrated into the pipeline, then there is no cost for translation itself, but the quality assurance, or sometimes it's called post-editing, it becomes more expensive. And data preparation too, because you have to prepare your engine for MT, you have to train your engines, etc. But the overall cost decreases, and well, it's difficult to talk about numbers with an abstract project, but in fact what we noticed is that this increase can be between 5 and 40%. So what is also important and what is sometimes not taken into account by machine translation adopters is that there are more than one way to use machine translation. First, machine translation can be a productivity tool that allows translators to deliver translations faster with the same quality as in the standard translation framework. Machine translation can be used for gisting without post-editing at all, something that many translation buyers forget about actually nowadays. And finally, machine translation can be integrated into, for example, chat widgets or any other real-time chat applications for real-time translation. Yeah, maybe it's a future application of machine translation, but just imagine how great it could be when you just talk to your customer in your own language and he receives your messages in his mother tongue. And there are other possible applications. For example, your machine translation can be integrated into your CMS framework or in any other IT system. So now I would like to present one of the MT case studies, one of the projects that we ran for one of our customers last year and the beginning of this year as well. So our customer is one of the world's biggest engineering companies with more than 50,000 employees and with a wide variety of high technical products and solutions. And also this company has a very long history. We translated training material for this customer for several language pairs, European language pairs, from German into English, Spanish, French, Swedish, Italian, and Dutch. And overall there were about 1,030,000 words per year translated from German into these languages. In the beginning, files were processed through Trados Studio 2011. Now I think that we switched to 2014, but it didn't affect much the pipeline. So an implementation was translation memories plus KantanMT machine translation solution. So one of the challenges that we saw in the beginning was that our customer had not worked in many of these language combinations before, and basically for many of these combinations there were no TMs that we could use to train machine translation system. But when used the target language authors, in many cases base their work on material that the customer had previously translated from German into the target language. So what we did, we just reversed the translation memories, because for machine translation it basically, in many situations, it doesn't really matter what is the source language. It just needs a bilingual content. It needs a parallel corpus to be trained on. And another challenge that we saw was that source material has variable quality, since there were more than one author involved in the authoring process, and it was another challenge that required some data cleaning effort on our end and from the KantanMT system as well. So what was the features of this project was that MT was fully integrated into the translation framework, and there was a there have been a significant amount of words that have been translated on the weekly basis, I would say. And the CAT tools, here we're talking mostly about TMS system, was also deeply integrated into the translation process. Translation memory was available for machine translation training. As I said, it was mostly for many language combinations it was a reverse translation memory from target into German. And we also had terminology which was approved by our client and which we used to enhance the machine translation system. Of course, post-editing was an essential component of this process. So translated units had always been reviewed in full by the translation service provider. In this case, it was we, and then approved by the customer. So post-editing is another story. So I will cover this aspect a little bit later, but it has its challenges, which are quite different from, let's say, classical translation challenges. So the benefits, that's turnaround time for training materials that we translated significantly reduced, and for this project we observed around 15% cost reduction overall, and the final translation quality of training material was great, and in some cases we even received very positive feedback from our customer. It was like, okay, so with MT, the quality of translation of training materials has even improved. So we were quite positively surprised because of that. So, and in summary, creation of a hybrid machine translation system. Hybrid in this sense, it means that we combine TM and MT, translation memories and machine translation for this project, and then brings together the assets of statistical technologies with the customer translation memories. And once again, what was very important for this project for us was that final workflow retained the same high quality standard as a classical translation framework. So why we chose KantanMT and what are the benefits of KantanMT solution? First of all, of course, it's a one-click system customization, highly visible. It's very easy to operate. You don't need to have a lot of experience or expertise to operate it. And automatic data preprocessing. Speaking from my experience, data cleaning, data selection, data preparation can take much more time than actual machine translation system training. So in this case, KantanMT really allowed us to not to do it in-house. So fully automated translation, yeah, automatic pre- and post-processing, the same about translatable content, so content that you pass to the system to translate. And we were quite happy with the quality assessment features of KantanMT as well. Kantan Watch was something that we used to let's say, on the weekly basis to compare different iterations of our engines after the training, just to see how good or how bad the new chunks of data were. Gap analysis, it's a very cool feature that we also use quite often, that allows to see which words or phrases were not translated with the machine translation system, and where we should probably put more effort on adding more content to the system, or reviewing our terminology, for example. Reject report, it's another feature that we use, which is basically which shows you the segments which were rejected during training. So it means that not all the information that you pass to the system can be used to train the engine. For example, not well-formed segments or too long segments are not used, cannot be used by the machine translation system, and they're simply rejected. So now we have an option to collect these segments, to edit them somehow, and to send them back to the system. So in this case, we don't lose any data. And of course, no worry about maintenance and infrastructure. KantanMT is a cloud-based solution, so in fact, you don't need to rent a server or have it on your premises. So basically, you just upload your data to the cloud. So, and now I would like to cover a couple of points regarding the future of machine translation as we see it. So, first of all, regarding technology and services, machine translation bringing multilinguality to big data. Big data is a new technology which a lot of people are talking about right now, and many players on the big data markets they find promising bringing multilingualism to big data, of course. So So there are around, well, more than 80% of internet users are not non-native English speakers, and of course there is a clear need for multilingual big data solutions nowadays. And we believe that machine translation is one of the technologies that can bring this multilinguality to big data. And to put it into a real world context, incorporation of real-time translation and linguistic capabilities into big data application will definitely open new horizons for data-driven business. It will make possible a lot of new functionalities which are not existing right now. For example, global linkage of dynamic and static information in different languages, language-independent corporate search, and bringing, for example, more global insights to the company from the analytical perspective. Scalability is a challenge that many machine translation systems are facing nowadays already, and they will face it more and more in the future. And I believe that Kantan has a lot to say in this concern, because they have the new development which is specifically address this scalability problem. And obviously translation industry is like a reliable, quick and objective translation quality evaluation mechanism, not only for machine translation but for translation quality in general. And I know that there have been a lot of research on this aspect worldwide, and I believe that in the very near future we will see new metrics which will probably address this problem. So in terms of automation, automation of engines training. So in some cases, training of an empty engine can be quite a laborious and time-consuming process, and I believe that CantAnMT has already implemented the first version of the fully automatic engine training system. And I believe this is the future for machine translation, that if you are able to train your empty system with one click, yeah, this is basically what people want. Engines training and automatic post-editing. So basically the engine should be retrained when you have new chunks of information, and also it can be done automatically when, for example, the amount of new data reaches a certain threshold. Automatic post-editing, it's also something that has been a very popular topic in academia in the over the last years, and the idea is that the system watches post-editors working, and it captures repetitive errors and then tries to adjust this system towards not committing these errors again. So it's a fully automatic process. And the pool of engines. Nowadays, some people are talking about a pool of translation memories. So translation memories which can be uploaded to a cloud or a super cloud and then downloaded for shared use. But probably in the future we will be talking about sharing empty engines which are pre-trained and ready for use already. And in this concern, there is a domain adaptation technology, which basically is a generalization of the standard single domain machine translation infrastructure to other domains. And the idea is that you make your system aware of the domain where it operates on, and then you can go further. You can estimate the distance between your domain and other domains, and then take a decision which data can be used to enhance your own empty engine. And of course, business challenges. First of all, pricing. I would say that many MT providers nowadays are lacking clearly defined machine translation products. So the combination of machine translation, post-editing, translation memories, probably it will be more clearly defined in the future. The post-editor payment models based on objective metric, it's also another challenge for the future, because nowadays there's no standard way to charge post-editors, to pay post-editors for their jobs. And the right level of post-editing, of course, now people are talking about different dynamic levels of quality. So maybe for some applications you don't really need to have ideal or ready for publishing quality. So maybe like light post editing should be enough for some applications. And I think this is my last slide. So thank you very much. I hand it over to KantanMT.
Thank you very much, Maxim, for that insightful presentation on how you've had such success with your clients.
Thank you, Tony and Maxine, for great presentations. We'd like now to ask everyone to remain on the line for just a couple of minutes as we open the floor for a Q&A session. And you can post your questions in the chat pane located near the bottom of the control panel or on Twitter using the hashtag CantanWebinar. So now I'm just going to hand you over to Tony for the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise. Now we have a number of questions here, and there's a number of them for Maxim, and there's a number of them for myself as well. Maxim, I'll start off with a question that's directed at your good self, and it's related to where is most of your time spent when you're building an engine for your client?
Oof, it's a very good question. So I would say that nowadays collecting the data and cleaning, pre-selecting, and processing the data is the most time-consuming process, because MT engine training is more or less automated right now, and it's easier to do. You can expect less problems from this part of the process than from the preparation process.
Okay, I have another question actually, which I think is in your field of expertise as well. You mentioned that TMs and terminology are not the only source of information that can be used to train an MT system, machine translation system. What other types are available? Do you want to have a crack at that, and then I'll say something to it as well?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, there is monolingual material in the target language. So let's say if you translate from German into English, you can use a lot of material from in English, which belongs to your domain, to enhance the fluency of your translation. And that's what a lot of early MT adopters don't do. And basically, this is a very powerful mechanism to optimize your machine translation system. That's why we always recommend to our customers. So, okay, so you give us your translation memories, your terminology, but please also look into monolingual material in the target language, because it can be a valuable source of information.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I have a question here as well, and it's to do with training data. How can we ensure the quality of the source data we are using to build our engine? And what are your suggestions for reducing noise in the data? I'll take the first part of that question, and maybe you can take the second part about reducing noise in the training data, Maxim. The first part of that question is, how can we ensure the quality of source data we are using to build our engines? Well, when you upload your training data, and there's 4 types of training data supported on the Kantan platform, we go through a process called data cleansing, and that's a 12-step process where we try to determine what data is significant for machine learning and what data is not significant. And the data that we deem not significant, or that doesn't pass the data cleansing process, is rejected. And that's the report that Maxim mentioned earlier on, this training rejects report. That's where we actually report to you, or catalog all the data that's not suitable for training. And the reason you can look at that report is because it might not be a big step to improve that training data and then resubmit it as additional data for your engine. So that's the first thing we do. During the data cleansing process, by the way, we do a number of checks. There's about, I think, 20, 30 different checks that we do to make sure that the alignment of your data is of very high quality. So we check the source data is compatible from a structural and a data integrity point of view to the target data as well. So that's the first phase of data cleansing. When we actually build your data models then, we actually go through the phrase table and we check the alignment. This is a new technology that we developed for one of our largest clients. And we check the alignment information in your phrase table. The phrase table is the kind of the brain, I guess, of the machine translation engine. And we just do an integrity check that we've got solid alignment of your data there. And if it fails the alignment test, we actually remove that data from the phrase table and then recompute the whole phrase table again. So we do a number of areas of data cleansing, but it's driven by one strategy, and it's called a clean data strategy. The cleaner we can make your data for training purposes, the better the engine will perform in terms of speed and obviously in terms of quality as well. So that's how we kind of guarantee or work towards achieving higher levels of data cleanse data, in the training process. Now, the second part of that question, Maxim, I'll just call it out again. What are your suggestions for reducing noise in the data? Do you want to take that?
Yes, sure. Let's say from the LSP perspective, from the language service provider perspective, there is some level of control on there on your data, and in fact what you can do is also, well, first of all, obvious thing, you can try to increase the quality of the authoring for your documents, which is not always possible, but sometimes it is. And technically, in the technical level, what we do also when we receive a new chunk of translation memories, we are trying to go through it, not all maybe through all the segments, but through a major part of segments, and to check that everything looks good with them. So, for instance, there is a common mistake which can be very dangerous for machine translation, that source and target language can be swapped, and it means that you have noise in your system, which is not so easy to detect. And you have to basically try to find it and remove it, or just do something with these chunks. Also, we have a procedure that goes through your data and tries to find some elements which are not really which cannot be processed properly by your system, like common characters, for example, or if you have spaces in the like double spaces, or 3 or 4 spaces which are followed by each other, or if you have like non-breakable spaces in somewhere where you don't expect to see them. So yeah, it's basically it comes with experience.
Okay, thank you very much for that. In fact, I have a question here as well, and it's another question here. It's a kind of a follow-on, I guess, in terms of data quality, and it is, Tony, how would you embed QE information into files suitable for translation in Studio and MemoQ? Now I'll take that question. The way we embed those scores is that the native file format for Trados Studio and MemoQ, those two market-leading translation memory systems, is actually based on XLIF. Now they do have their own implementation of XLIF, but nonetheless the main structure of those files is XLIF based, and XLIF is an industry standard. It's standardized by the OASIS committee, and in that data stream there are attributes you can use to store fuzzy match scores as well as quality estimation scores, and those quality estimation scores are the CantAnAutoScale scores. So what we actually do is we open up those files and we embed those scores directly into those files, so that when you open those files, those native files in those CAT tools, you see our scores appearing where your translations currently see fuzzy match scores. So it's completely seamless. We don't want to create a new process for the translator. We don't want to create a new process for your workflow. We seamlessly integrate that data into your current data stream. And of course, one of the benefits of XLIF is that you can actually tag content and add metadata, and that's effectively what we do. But we put the data in such a way that the CAT tool picks it up and displays it correctly on the screen. So that's the process related to that. We've just got about a minute left, guys, so apologies, we won't be able to get to every single question here, but there's one last question here on the screen, and it is, how does CantAnAutoScale work? Now, the way CantAnAutoScale works is it's designed to do two things. It's designed to keep your on-demand Kantan engine available 24/7, 365 days of the year. Okay, so the first thing it focuses on is reliability. So we build more than one version of your engine. We build multiple deployed versions of your engine, all on different servers, and we spread those servers over multiple data centers. And the reliability comes from the fact that if one of those servers falls over or crashes or it's taken offline or has a network card error or any sort of hardware error, we can detect that, and as soon as we detect it, we will immediately provision another machine and scale and keep the actual cluster of machines at the same level. So that's how you get the reliability of your engines, and it means that it's a 24/7, 365-day availability throughout the year. Now, in addition to that, if a data center goes down or somebody cuts the pipe into a data center, you know, I can't say it has happened that often. In fact, it rarely does happen, but if it does, we detect that scenario and we make sure that we have some of your servers in other data centers. So if data center A has two versions of your engine and that goes down, our load balancer will automatically spawn two new servers in the available data centers that are still left. So that's the way the reliability works, and this is really important for our clients when they're translating live websites and things like that. The other side of it then is obviously the service levels, because as more and more translators use your engines, as more and more translation requests are sent down to the engines may come under strain because of the sheer amount of requests going into those servers. So we have AutoScale technology that detects the load on each server, and if the load reaches a certain level, we actually start adding more machines into your distributive network. So we may start off with 4 machines, and as the demands on those machines gets more and more and the machines start to labor a bit, we add in a 5th machine and then a 6th machine and a 7th machine and so on. And when the spike in demand for machine translation starts to recede, we start killing off those machines because we don't need them anymore. So we scale down your deployment as well. So that keeps you able to service a high level of machine translation requests, but it also controls your costs because it reduces the amount of machines when they're not required, and it increases the amount of machines when they are required. So it's very, very fluid and flexible, and it's designed to maintain certain levels of machine translation throughput and capacity. So that's how that technology works. It's one based on the reliability of your system and the availability of the system, and the second one is about the capacity. It focuses on making sure that the system always has the correct capacity available for your clients and for your translators. Now, there's several other questions that, unfortunately, we said this would be an hour long. We don't have time to complete all that. So I'm going to hand you over now to Louise, and thank you very much for your attention and participation in today's presentation.
Tony, thank you very much, and thank you to our attendees for their excellent questions and for attending the webinar. We will send them an email with a link to the recording and answers to everyone's questions in the next couple of days. And thank you again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you and goodbye.